All right, welcome everyone. Welcome mga people. Thank you so much for coming to our first online people speaker series. First off, thank you for all the students and the teachers of Liloan National High School, Don Bosco, and also Buting Senior High School and Cavite National High School. Thank you all for coming today. We welcome you. I also want to give thanks to our speakers today, Roanne and Dr. Chris. I will be presenting them later on. I just want to say thank you for sharing your time with us, and we welcome you. I am your host, Tristan Baltasar. I am a core lead of the organization we call PIPOL, PIPOL, which means Pinoys in Pursuit of Learning. We are a nonprofit from Silicon Valley that aims to inspire, develop, and provide resources to the youth of the Philippines, specifically in public high schools that focus on a STEM related career path. And today is one of our events. It's called It's Okay to Not Be Okay. And today we'll be focusing on a topic na hindi palaging pinag-uusapan sa mga Filipino households and even nga sa mga barkada natin, no? And I think that's because our topic is very it's heavy, to some people, and that's okay. Sometimes talagang mabigat ang ating mga nafe-feel sa heart natin, no? Pero sana naman pagkatapos ng ating talakayan, gumaan naman ang ating pakiramdam about the topic of mental health or kalusugang pangkaisipan. On that note, I do want to make sure that everyone knows that this talk is being streamed live to the public, and it will be also saved as a video that we will be posting later on in the future. So anyone that is here today that is participating, hope that we all respect and not judge one another. No, there will be stories that will be shared or even questions that will be asked that can be personal, and that's okay. And if at any time that you are curious about something, maybe you want to ask a question, feel free naman to type it in the public chat. I can always put it on the screen, and everyone will see. Ang diskurso natin ay to make sure na hindi to maging kapalit ng professional na opinion ng isang doktor. So lagi kayong kumonsulta sa inyong doktor kung may mga katanungan kayong ukol sa iyong kalusugan. All right, our first speaker is Rowan De Gea Samuels. Hello, Roanne. Kamusta? Kamusta?
How are you guys?
Hello. So Roanne is a mom of four, a licensed psychotherapist in California, and also a trained hypnotherapist with more than 12 years in clinical practice, working with children and adults from diverse cultural backgrounds. Roanne deeply understands that beyond words, pain is expressed in many other ways. Thereby, she incorporates creative and other forms of self expression in her care. She was also the lead mental health clinician for Solano County's Filipino Outreach Project for 5 years. And today, Roanne is in private practice and the creator of the blog KalamansiJuice.com. So if you're interested to getting to know more of Roanne, visit her website at KalamansiJuice.com. So yeah, let's present your presentation. So yeah.
Kamusta everyone? Rowan here, licensed marriage family therapist or a psychotherapist in short here in California. Just call me Rowan or if you must, ate na lang or miss. Welcome sa ating mga ICT students and teachers from Liloan National High School. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Anyway, when you listen to this presentation, medyo late dito sa California, but I'm fully awake because I'm excited to share this space with all of you. So, It's Okay Not to Be Okay is the title of our presentation. What's the cause of being okay or not, or appearing to be okay all the time? Can this be hazardous to your overall health? Focus your attention on me for a moment, and I'll tell you more. So this was a picture of me when I was in kindergarten, about 5 years old. If you can spot me, you get extra credit from Mom Cherry. So I used to wear this sky blue uniform, neatly pressed, diba? Plancha every day, as you know, Monday to Friday. Now, usually I walk to school with a grown up, carrying my umbrella and my lunchbox. But on other days, if someone asked me to wear a scarf or something, I would wear a scarf. can point. All right. Because there always flood in our street. By the way, itong house on your right, that's not the actual house. Hindi hamak na. Mas maganda yan. But I just wanted to give you a feel that it was on an incline, actually even more steep than this picture here. And as we know, it's the Philippines is one of the most storm-exposed country in the world. And so one day, my father told me to wait for Kuya June. Kuya June worked for my father, and he had lived with us together with his family for some time. So I waited at the bottom of the steep incline driveway. So with my yung kakaplansya lang na uniform, and I was waiting and waiting. And suddenly there was a loud thumb sound. Boom. I was hit by the car backing up. Kuya June didn't see me. He was also a new driver. I remember feeling the tire, yung gulong, was partly on top of my young, small frame body. As I said, I was only 5. And there was a shriek sound. Maybe it was my mother screaming in the background. But I remember I pulled out of the car. My clothes were ripped. I had holes, grasa, all over me. And like I said, naging butas-butas yung aking sky blue uniform, and I had a shock in my face. I remember my father really being angry at Kuya June. In the meantime, my mom provided me the much needed TLC, right? Tinanong ako, kumain ka na ba? Haplos ng pagmamahal with Vicks, pasalubong, I remember with Dunkin' Donuts, and exceptions. I could watch TV longer than my other siblings. I also remember not being able to open doorknobs for days or even maybe for a week. Later on, I learned that Kuya June had other mishaps, or something happened that they decided to separate my father and Kuya June. Now, his child, Nene, was my playmate. Early morning, I look for her and she looks for me. We like playing with paper dolls, bahay-bahayan, and playing with Nene for years, and suddenly not seeing her for reasons I'm not aware of, because I was only 5, really left me with a broken heart. So in today's presentation, I would interchangeably use the word broken heart to mean broken spirit, poor or low emotional or mental health. Sa Tagalog, kalusugang pangkaisipan. Many times for children or for cultures where we are not readily taught how to express our feelings, a broken heart can show itself through having low energy or walang gana, ayaw kumain, maligalig, anxious, madaling mabalisa, irritable, madaling mabwisit, walang motivation or low motivation. Now, I like this quote, and partly I created the parts of this quote. When our children have broken bones, we take them to see a doctor right away. But when they have broken hearts, we wait, hoping it'll just go away. Isn't this the truth? In a way, it also makes sense because we can imagine or even see a broken bone, or some if it's physical, but not a broken heart. In the meantime, we receive messages in our culture that contradict the message that it's okay not to be okay. So after that car incident, I've gained this reputation of being the tough kid. See, I didn't even cry. So in potlucks, when tita would say, "Nako, yung anak kong si Mary, nahulog na yan sa kama, hindi man lang umiyak." To which my parents would proudly recant, "Nako, yan si Roanne, nasagasaan na yan. A few days after, pumasok pa ulit sa eskwelahan." I know it sounds funny, and my parents were not ill intent, but it reinforces this feeling that not saying ouch or aray even when it hurts is a characteristic that's admirable, hindi ba? And when we get reinforcement or reward, it strengthens that behavior or that characteristic. Quick story, since I've been labeled this tough kid. One Christmas, I was in my Lola's house and I was helping her make gift bags from gift wrappers. She had this huge stapler. Parang industrial stapler siya. And suddenly, when my grandma was in the kitchen, I accidentally stapled my finger. It bled really bad. And instead of crying and telling an adult, I ran to the bathroom and I wrapped it so many times with the toilet paper. And when my lola saw the drips of blood, she kept asking me ano nangyari. But you see, my behavior of being tough, not saying aray, had been reinforced. Now, thankfully, throughout the years, I found other ways to express and other adults teaching me that it's okay not to be okay. So the question remains, are you walking around with a broken heart? Are you looking good on the outside, right? You're still functional, maganda pa rin ang forma ninyo, going to school, if you're working, medyo doing menial tasks so you won't get in trouble, or sa gawaing bahay, just doing enough para wag ma-high blood si nanay. Despite of this, are you feeling this way on the inside, right? Like I mentioned, hurt, low energy, irritable, maaring laging masakit ang ulo o ang tiyan without any medical explanations. I just want to highlight that without medical explanation. At karaniwang reklamo ng iba sa'yo ay tamad ka, batugan, walang kusa, walang initiative. Many times when we are unable to express our pain, our discomfort, even our brokenheartedness, we bottle it inside. We look good outside, but our insides are needing attention. I also like this quote from a psychiatrist. The feelings that cannot find its expression in tears may cause other organs to weep. What this means is even if we hide from our tears, our pain, they may show up in other forms. It may not be through tears, but tears are good if this works for you to express yourself, right? It does clear up our eyes, doesn't it, when we cry? Now, we all know that looking good on the outside or in our physical self, we need to exercise, move, don't eat too much hot dog like this kid here, eat our vegetable, maintain a balanced diet. So this is not rocket science. We all know this. But how do we look good also in the inside, and how do we mend a broken heart? Dr. Chris will be giving us more tips. So I just wanted to briefly focus on a few things here. Breathing, okay? Sometimes we take this for granted. It's as natural as can be. When babies are born, doctors don't say, now, breathe. They just know how to do it, right? Breathing helps us to slow down. So as you listen to my voice during this presentation, you can either place your hand on your heart, your chest, or your stomach, and then just feel the sensation. Yung stomach mo tumataas, bumababa. Feel the sensation in your heart. Be reminded to slow down. Your breath is available to you, and especially libre lang siya. Also, express yourself, right? Now, Filipinos are very collective, and often we heavily care about what others might think. Ayaw nating magmukhang tanga or be a burden to others. Now, find expression of self or outlet that feels safe to you. Now, for adults listening, it's also good practice to meet our young halfway by allowing them the space to express without the fear of being seen less. Sometimes even if we say, oh, okay lang yan, but our subtle facial expression is showing na medyo disappointed tayo, it gives that feeling that it's not okay to express. Also, sometimes, normal lang naman to, but to just be more aware that we might be too quick to give suggestions, right? Fixing the problem before inquiring what the problem is all about. Now, these are easy journal prompts to use to visualize a good enough day. When I say good enough, because our title is It's Okay Not to Be Okay, there's some days you might not be feeling up to it, right? And it doesn't have to be perfect. So that's what I mean when I say good enough. So for instance, imagine we usually plan our week, our day by writing down tasks, checklists, Imagine how you can transform your week by starting off with the question, how do I want to feel today or this week, right? Let's say you want to feel relaxed or productive. Now, write down activities that you can do to support those feelings. So, if you want to be relaxed, siguro you want to wake up an hour before school starts. So, medyo relax ka at hindi nagmamadali. If you want to be productive, baka magwawalis-walis ka sa labas. Whatever that means for you, okay? And then write down activities that you want to do less to support your feelings vision. So, if you want to be productive. If you notice sleeping at midnight is maybe weighing you down the next day, then you want to jot that down and you want to do less of that. Now, okay, as you strive to look good outside, search inside. You can choose to polish your shell like this clam, right? All day long. But we all know that the clam's worth is determined by its looking good, feeling good inside, right? The pearl it produces. Now, the key to uh, being feeling good enough or knowing that it's okay to be okay is to have the expectation that some days it's just messy, right? And then on other days you can be maybe as chill as this girl on this photo. On those days that you feel na I'm not doing okay, some suggestions would be to speak kindly to yourself. In a way, you'll speak to your best friend, right? You won't tell a barkada, nako, ilang ulit mo na sinusubukan gawin yan, hindi mo pa rin ma-master, right? We don't talk like that to our barkada. So talk in a way that you would talk to our barkada. Find an outlet you can express through art, dancing, or just being alone. These are all okay. And ultimately, it's okay not to be okay. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Roanne, for sharing that. Thank you for letting us know that it's okay to not be okay. Next up, I do want to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Christopher Franz Karanga. He is here right now. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Tristan. Hello, everyone.
Kamusta? All right.
Gandang araw.
So, magandang araw. Dr. Chris is actually from the Philippines. He's a practicing clinical psychologist who combines his love for music and psychology in his work. He specializes in play therapy and music and expressive arts therapy for children and adolescents. He taught psychology subjects in Miriam College, De La Salle University, Manila, and UP Diliman, which is where he finished his PhD in clinical psychology. He was also a part-time guidance counselor for college students at the Ateneo de Manila University. Right now, he is happily married to Olive P. Carandang, who is also a psychologist and a psych teacher at Miriam College. They are blessed to have a very energetic, creative, and playful 4-year-old girl named Harana. I think you're gonna talk about Harana in your presentation, no?
Yes.
Let's start, shall we?
Magandang araw sa mga estudyante, magulang, teachers at staff ng Liloan National High School. At pati na rin sa mga nakikinig sa video na ito ngayon. Ako po si Dr. Chris Karandang, isang clinical psychologist. Maaari nyo rin akong tawaging Tito Chris o kaya ay Kuya Chris. At ngayon ay magbibigay ako ng mga tips kung paano natin maaring alagaan ang ating mental health, lalo na ngayon sa panahon ng pandemya. Bago ko ibigay yung mga tips, gusto ko lang sabihin na napakahalaga yung nabanggit ni Ms. Roanne sa kanyang presentation. Yung pagkakaroon ng mindset o pag-iisip na it's okay to not be okay. Lalo na ngayon na lahat tayo ay nag-a-adjust sa ganitong klaseng new normal na hindi tayo makalabas ng bahay at lahat ay nag-iingat para hindi tayo ma-infect ng coronavirus. Wala sa atin ang gustong malagay sa ganitong sitwasyon. Ngunit sa tingin ko ay pwede rin itong isang pagkakataon para pakinggan, respetuhin at pahalagahan natin ang ating mga nararamdaman. At alam kong maaring nakakatakot to, lalo na pag meron tayong mga intense o napaka overwhelming na mga nararamdaman. Ngunit kung hayaan nating makinig at matuto tayo sa ating mga nararamdaman, makita natin na it helps connect us to other people. When we listen to our true feelings and we acknowledge them, it can help connect us to other people. So hindi lang tayo ang nalulungkot sa mga nangyayari sa paligid natin ngayon, hindi lang tayo ang natatakot sa mga nangyayari sa paligid ngayon. So imbes na lalo pa nating hayaan na ma-isolate tayo dahil sa pandemyang ito, ay pwede natin gamitin itong mga nararamdaman natin para mag-connect sa iba't ibang tao, sa ating mga kaibigan, sa ating mga pamilya, at makikita natin na pwede tayong magkaroon ng support system. Hindi kailangan ikahiya ang ating mga nararamdaman dahil lahat tayo ay nakakaramdam nito. So gusto ko lang magbigay ng isang halimbawa. Meron akong 4-year-old daughter, ang pangalan niya ay si Harana. At dati nung meron pang curfew dito ng 8 p.m., merong malakas na sirena na tumutunog. So yung pinaka-natural na reaction niya ay natatakot siya. So sinasabi niya sa amin ng asawa ko na natakot siya dun sa tunog. So ang madalas na reaksyon ng mga matatanda kapag ganito ay sasabihin nila, huwag ka matakot, be brave. O kaya, wala ka naman dapat ikatakot. Pero bilang isang psychologist, alam ko na mahalagang i-validate at pahalagahan ang kanyang nararamdaman para alam niya na natural rin naman yun. So ang sinabi namin ng kaming mag-asawa, sabi namin sa kanya, Harana, ako rin natatakot ako. Pero maybe we can be brave together. So we can be both scared and brave. So sa paraan na ganun, makita niya na binibigyan namin ng halaga ang kanyang nararamdaman at hindi siya mapapaisip, meron bang problema sa akin kung bakit ako nakakaramdam ng takot? Dahil sa totoo lang naman, you cannot be brave without feeling scared. They really go together. Sa panahon ngayon, sa tingin ko normal rin ang makaramdam ng walang gana. So kunwari, isang estudyante, mahirap i-motivate ang sarili natin para makapag-aral. Pati ang mga teacher, nag-a-adjust sa pagturo online, maaring ma-frustrate o malungkot o kaya mawalan rin ng gana. So normal lang ang magkaroon ng ganitong mga nararamdaman, ang pagkakaroon ng walang gana. Ngunit pwede natin gawan to ng paraan. May mga bagay na pwede natin gawin para matulungan ng sarili natin. Unang-una, maganda yung magkaroon ng daily or weekly routine kung saan bibigyan natin ng oras na i-address ang mga iba't ibang aspeto ng buhay natin. Hindi lang yung pag-aaral o kaya trabaho. Unang-una, mahalaga ang physical exercise or physical activities. Lalo na ngayon, kailangan natin magpalakas para kung magkasakit man tayo, ay kakayanin natin to. At ang pag-aalaga ng ating katawan ay makakaapekto rin sa ating pag-iisip or mental health. Makakatulong rin ito. Pangalawa, ang pagkakaroon ng family rituals. No? So pwedeng magkaroon ng simpleng kwentuhan habang kumakain bilang isang pamilya. At kung nararamdaman natin na yung mga sinasabi natin, yung mga feelings natin ay natatanggap ng ating mga kasama sa bahay, ay nakakagaan rin ito. Mahalaga rin na magkaroon tayo ng panahon para maglaro at mag-relax. No? So kung ano man yung edad nyo, importante na magkaroon ng activity kung saan naglalaro lang tayo, hinahayaan lang natin yung sarili natin mag-enjoy at mag-relax. Sa ibang mga pamilya, nag-enjoy sila na gumawa ng mga chores, yung paglilinis ng bahay, ginagawa nilang something na pwede nilang ma-enjoy. At sa ibang pamilya naman, nakakatulong na meron silang ritual na nagdadasal sila na sabay-sabay. maganda rin na sa ating weekly routine ay maglagay tayo ng oras para mag-connect sa iba-ibang tao. So dahil sa teknolohiya ngayon, napakadaling kausapin natin or mag-message tayo sa mga kaibigan natin, kamustahin natin sila, o kaya kamustahin natin ang mga relatives natin na malayo sa atin. So nakakatulong rin ito. Siguro gusto ko lang idagdag, no? Pagdating sa teknolohiya, okay lang naman na minsan-minsan naghanap tayo ng distraction, nanonood tayo ng mga videos, o kaya naglalaro ng mga video games. So okay lang yon. Ngunit maganda rin sigurong pansinin kung nakakaapekto rin to sa ibang aspeto ng buhay natin. So tanongin natin yung sarili natin, yung paggamit ko ba ng teknolohiya, ng mga gadget, ng cellphone, nakakaapekto na ba to sa aking pag-aaral? O kaya nakakaapekto na ba to sa aking tulog? O kaya nagbabago ba ang aking mood kapag madalas akong gumamit ng teknolohiya? So kailangan lang nating ingatan ang paggamit ng teknolohiya, lalo na ngayon na lahat ng ginagawa natin, no? Karamihan ng ginagawa natin on screen. So maganda rin na may mga activities na off-screen tayo. In relation to that, maganda rin na meron tayong mga creative activities, no? Activities kung saan nalalabas natin ang tunay nating mga nararamdaman. So pwedeng sa paraan ng pag-drawing, pagsusulat, o kaya pagtugtog ng isang instrumento, pwede rin yung pagkanta at pagsayaw. No? So kadalasan nakakatulong to para ilabas ang tunay nating nararamdaman at nakakagaan rin to para sa atin. So naiiba yung mga activity kung saan nanonood lang tayo ng video o kaya naglalaro ng video games dahil sinusundan lang natin yung kwento na sinasabi sa atin o kaya yung rules ng video games. Pero kapag tayo yung gumagawa ng isang bagay, kunyari isang drawing, isang kwento, isang kanta, dun natin mas nalalabas kung ano yung nasa loob natin. At huli sa lahat, importanteng alalahanin rin na lahat tayo, meron tayong mga limitasyon, no? So maganda, alamin rin natin kapag sobrang overwhelming rin ng nararamdaman natin at kailangan na nating humingi ng tulong. So do not hesitate to ask for help from your family, from friends, from your teachers, no? This is the time that we can really help each other because we are going through the same thing. So napakahalaga na magkaroon tayo ng mga taong mapagkakatiwalaan natin na pwede natin hingan ng tulong. Bilang pagtatapos, gusto ko lang i-share na isa sa mga nakakatulong sa pamilya ko ngayong pandemya ay yung pagkakaroon ng drawing sessions or art sessions. So siguro mga twice or thrice a week, nagdo-drawing lang kami ng kahit ano, hinahayaan lang namin ilabas yung nararamdaman namin sa drawing namin. So isang araw nagulat ako sa nagawa ng daughter ko, yung nabanggit ko na si Harana. So 4 years old siya. Tapos ang dinrawing niya ay picture ni Princess Elsa from Frozen. Tapos nagdrawing siya ng coronavirus. Tapos ang sabi niya, dun sa drawing niya, pinapaalis ni Princess Elsa yung coronavirus. So Princess Elsa is telling the coronavirus to go away. So para sa akin, napaka ganda ng ginawa niya, no? At makikita natin talaga kung gaano ka-powerful at empowering ang arts. Dahil sa drawing natin or sa gawa natin, pwede natin ma-envision ang isang hindi pa nangyayari, no? We can envision a better world, we can envision something that we hope for, and we can make it happen on paper. So that's how powerful the arts can be. So talagang in-encourage ko kayong lahat, no? To try it out. Try getting into some activity where you can really release your emotions and you can feel like you can have power over your environment. at least through the arts. Maraming salamat sa pakikinig at sana ay may napulot kayo na makakatulong sa inyo. Salamat.
Thank you, Dr. Chris, for that presentation, for the tips on taking care of our mental health. Let's welcome back our two speakers, Roanne and Dr. Chris. There we go. Hello, welcome
Hello.
back. Welcome back.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Sabi po daw, your voice is soothing. I think this refers to both of you yata. Also,
Thank you.
someone commented, some days it's just messy by Shalane. Sabi niya. I think they really
It's true.
relate with that, no? Also daw kay Dr. Chris, may nag-shoutout po sa iyo. Masan ba? Yun, I agree with what you said. Precise daw, sabi ni Roger. So yeah, thank you everyone for participating,
Roger.
for being engaged while you're watching. Salamat, salamat. And also, I'm about to ask our two speakers some questions. So if you have a question naman, feel free to ask it right now. You can type it in. I will also ask those questions in the Q&A, no? Pero let's before we go to your Q&A, let's take this time to learn more about our mental health, diba? So hopefully, my question po, ang dami kong questions. I've watched your videos, both of your videos, multiple times. No? So I was trying to understand talaga ang mental health. Kasi like I said before, talagang it's hard to talk about it minsan. I guess, ang question ko po ay para kay Ate Rowan. I searched up the definition of mental health. And supposedly, ang definition ay it includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. When I was reading that, na-confused ako. Well, not necessarily not confused. Na-feel ko lang parang ang lawak ng definition. No? It covers so many different topics or different places. So I was wondering, Ate Roanne, if you can give me your own definition of mental health.
So, in other words, hindi ba sabi natin, mental health is kalusugang pangkaisipan? So, sa madaling salita, it's really how we perceive ourselves, right? And the lens that we use to view the world. So, do you see the world as a place na safe or hindi? And then, based on that, the way we perceive the world and ourselves, it influences our relationship, hindi ba? Our decision making. And so, when you think about physical health, pag tayo healthy, we can do a lot of things. Pwede tayong tumakbo, hindi tayo hihingalin when we're healthy. So, when it comes to mental health, there's a lot of overlap, So, if you're mentally healthy, similar din, hindi ba? Medyo alert ang pag-iisip mo. But at the same time, you like yourself most of all. You have a positive view of yourself and therefore the world. So that's just kind of like a summary of, how what mental health is. So
Nice.
I hope I answered your question.
Yes, no, thank you. That kind of broadens or makes it more narrow. No, talagang it's how you view your life. No, thank you, Ate Roanne. And in that regard, Kuya Chris, maybe you can help me out naman with this next question. When I was reading definition, it also talked about. It said something like, over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, your thinking, mood, and behavior could be affected. So nagtaka ako, ibig sabihin ba nun na kung inaalagaan ko ang aking mental health, ay may mental health problem ba ako? Or baka kailangan ba dapat kong alagaan ang aking mental health only when I have a mental health problem? I guess na-confusing ako, no? May pagkaiba ba ang mental health to mental health problems?
Okay, magandang tanong yan, Tristan, no? I-relate ko yan sa sinabi ni Ms. Roanne, no? Maganda tingnan natin yung mental health in the way that we also see physical health, no? Kaya rin tayo mayroong mga ganitong pag-uusap para lang ma-destigmatize yung pag-uusap tungkol sa mental health. Dahil the more that we keep quiet about it, the more that it may be difficult for us. So we need to reach out to one another and talk about it. And just to directly answer your question, lahat tayo susceptible to having mental health problems. It's a matter of balance. If you go through something traumatic in your life, let's say an accident, just like what Miss Roanne went through when she was 5, you can struggle with mental health issues or mental health problems. So anyone is susceptible to that, and that's why I think it's important na we learn more about mental health and how we can take care of our mental health, to avoid that, and even to strengthen that. So especially now in this situation, pandemic, the more that we know about mental health, the more that we can understand na feeling anxious is okay, feeling afraid is okay, and there's nothing wrong with you for feeling that way, and it's okay to reach out to other people. So yeah, so I hope I answered your question. We can all encounter mental health problems and challenges, regardless of who you are, whether you're a psychologist or a doctor or whatever your profession is. It's possible. That's why it's important for us to know more about it.
I agree naman, Doc. Thank you for expanding on that. No, nice. Okay, at least everyone now is kind of in tuned with the definitions. No, so now I want to ask more of like a specific part of your presentations for both of you. The first one would be for Roanne. You mentioned in your presentation that it is important to treat yourself as your best friend, to talk to yourself as your best friend, as if you are your own barkada, right? Pero I guess ang question ko naman, minsan, ang mga barkada nating mismo, no, ay naghusga sa atin. Sometimes they bully you as a joke. I mean, I know they're joking, pero at the same time, baka na-hurt ang feelings natin, or me or you, maybe you actually feel hurt. So I was wondering, like, what can you do in a situation like that? Ano magandang gawin para sa situation na yun?
Yeah, magandang tanong yan, Tristan. I'm sure Dr. Chris might be able to add after my response. I think kung may pattern na siya, no, if a teenager feels really threatened, parang ayaw niya nang pumasok, because you mentioned the word, parang feeling na nabubully siya. So if there's a pattern and safety issue, of course, ang aking recommendation is to speak to a grown-up na you trust. Yung mga atin namang counselor, merong salitang tinatawag na confidential. So, paminsan sa ating kultura, hindi masyado na-explain. So, pag sinabi natin confidential, lalo na sa isang professional, ibig sabihin, kung ano yung kinuwento mo sa kanila, hindi dapat naman nila, o alam nila na hindi nila yon i-share sa iba. So, I think importanteng maintindihan niya ng ating mga kabataan. Pangalawa, kung hindi naman siya pattern, perhaps you can pull your friend aside, mag-usap na mabuti. Pwede mo siguro sabihin, I know na nagbibiro ka lang, hindi mo naman sinasadya yun. But when you say that, it actually, medyo na-offend ako. And see what the response is, If that person is truly your friend, my gut feeling is that they'll try to adjust. Now, if they continue to do it, then maybe you want to ask yourself why it's important to you to be in that circle while you feel like being judged. So it's more of a question rather than to be curious about. So yeah, that's my answer, Tristan. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Ate Roanne. Dr. Chris, do you have something to share, maybe add to what Ate Roanne said about your, barkadas being bullies minsan?
Actually, sang-ayon ako sa lahat ng sinabi ni Ms. Roanne naman. Siguro dun lang, gusto ko lang emphasize nga na doon nagiging importante na you learn how to value your feelings. Because if you don't value it, you'll feel like baka yung sinasabi ng bully na to tama siguro siya. So, biglang magdududa ka sa sarili mo, parang baka nga wala akong karapatan para makaramdam ng ganito. Maybe there's just something wrong with me, di ba? So, that's why it's good to, ngayon pa lang, simulan na i-value yung feelings din. Kasi yun ang clues mo. Yun ang clues mo kung sino ba ang mapagkakatiwalaan mo rin o kanino ka ba gumagaan yung loob pag nakakausap mo siya, di ba? So, merong diferensya kung minsan sa kung sino ang kausap mo, di ba? So, alam mo kung saan yung nakakagaan, saka talagang nakakatulong sa'yo.
That makes a lot of sense naman. I think Miss Janela May Alvarez Silva, a student, I think she's agreeing with Ate Roanne kanina din. With both of you, if someone's sharing their problem to you, please don't tell them that they are being ma-drama or ma-arte. They trust you as someone who can make them feel at ease. So thank you for sharing that. That helps
very
a lot.
important.
I'm glad you are the students are understanding naman what we're talking about. So I have another question. So for Kuya Krish, you were talking about I'm sorry. Ito pala, during this pandemic, no, ang daming tao sa Pilipinas na naapektuhan physically, financially, and even emotionally. Because of this, ang mga magulang ay nag-aalala dahil wala na silang trabaho. Posibleng yung mga brothers and sisters ng mga students ay nag-worry about distance learning or even hopefully they can help around sa bahay. So busy din sila. And our teachers, they're getting ready for the next school year. So they're also busy. My question is, paano ka hihingi ng tulong kung pakiramdam mo lahat ay may kanya-kanyang sariling problema na dinadala, especially during a pandemic like this?
Yeah. That's a very important question kasi I've encountered a lot of clients, no, na for the longest time, kinikim-kim lang nila yung nararamdaman nila dahil ayaw nilang makapatong, makadagdag sa problema ng iba sa paligid nila. Kaya lang, ang nangyayari kapag ganun, it intensifies. No? A small problem can become bigger if you don't get to talk about it. No? So, in the end, eventually, yung pakiramdam na parang sumasabog ka na, it becomes a bigger problem and yung worry mo na baka you might burden others becomes a reality. No? So, dapat siguro sa simula pa lang, subukan na nating magkaroon ng, parang nabanggit ko sa video, no, yung to have rituals wherein you feel like, may open communication and there's acceptance kung ano yung, kunyari, how was your day? Yung ganong simpleng pagkamusta, napaka-importante yan, lalo na sa mga, kahit yung mga teenager, no, lalo na, yung, they have their own world, but, and you feel like maybe they don't really answer kapag kinakamusta, pero actually napaka-importante sa kanila na kamustahin. Ayan. So, and then it becomes lighter when you know na hindi lang pala ako yung nagkakaproblema. So, and we can work together to find a way out of the challenges.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. Chris. Ate Roanne, do you have something to add as well?
Yeah, I think, kasi sa ating kultura sa mga Pilipino, katulad yung na-mention ni Dr. Chris, hindi ba yung kinikim-kim? So when we think of we're a burden, it's probably the same experience of the grown-up. Natuto na silang magkim-kim. So parang, kumbaga, the world is on their shoulder. So when you're raising a child, parang nafe-feed mo pa minsan yung ganun eh. Even just your facial expression, lalapit pa lang sa yung bata, parang meron ka ng they can read your facial expression. So the child learns, naku, ayokong lumapit sa nanay o even sa teacher pa minsan, ayokong makapabigat sa kanila. So, one thing that might be helpful to understand is kasi hindi natin pinag-uusapan na madalas ang mental health. So, nakikimkim nating lahat. So, the fear of not wanting to be a burden, katulad ni what Dr. Chris said, nagiging totoo siya. Diba? So, when we actually seek for help, or do something na magkaroon tayo ng outlet, actually, yung kinatatakutan natin na baka maging burden tayo, ay maaaring hindi maging totoo kasi we've already done something, no, to lessen it.
Mhm.
So, to diminish it.
Yes, yes.
So,
Thank you. That's a good segue naman for our next question. I think
Is it okay
uh,
though if I add lang
oh yeah,
something
go
short?
ahead.
Yeah,
Sige.
nakalimutan ko lang sabihin na I think the thought may motivation behind it rin naman to not wanna burden others. There's thoughtfulness to it. Ibig sabihin you're worried about the other person. But I think one thing also with our culture is and actually not just in our culture pero buong mundo siguro, no? Parang we highly prize giving and to self-sacrifice, to be selfless. This is put in a pedestal. Pero yung kailangan alalahanin rin natin na importante rin tumanggap. To be able to receive graciously actually makes the person who is giving feel better too. So it facilitates a smooth transaction that makes everyone feel lighter. So learn how to also receive graciously and not just give and give. And not just take care of others, but also take care of yourself.
Nice. No, that's very beautiful the way you put it. No, it's a give and take naman between the person you're talking to and you. And I think yeah, okay. Now that's even better to how I'm gonna segue to the next question. Kasi some of our students are actually wondering, no, paano po magkaroon ng self confidence? Sabi ni Ian Feliciano, and it's very similar naman. I think also si Ezekiel also wants to ask the same thing. And Stanford Roble also has a very similar question on how to deal with a lot of insecurity. So, we want to ask you, Ate Roanne and Tito Chris, how would you build self confidence, especially when you have a lot of insecurities? How can we do that? Who wants to go first?
Nagtuturuan. Sige, I'll say something short.
Sige.
Sige, something short and then Ms. Ron can just add.
Mhm.
I think you can start even with the smallest things that you feel like, even to a degree, you can do well. Start with the smallest thing. No? So, kunyari sa play therapy, pag mga bata,
Mhm.
makita mo yung cue eh. They want you to look at them. Tinan mo to, tito, ang galing ko mag-shoot ng basketball or as kong tumalon, no? And maybe for the adult, parang ang liit na bagay lang yon. Pero ang laking bagay yung ma-affirm yun at ma-value yun ng adult na nakikinig. No? So that, from something very small, can grow big. So maybe you can try to do that to yourself also. Find something small that you can be proud of, know that you're pretty good at.
Parang baby steps, like when you're a baby, you're taking steps and you finally walk. Parang it's a good accomplishment, even though it's a small one. Ate Roan, how about you? Do you have any advice to how to deal with insecurities, building self-confidence?
I think the words that we use to describe ourselves, that's very important, no? When we say, nako, clumsy ako. So now you're labeling yourself rather than, ay, nahulog ko lang yung pinggan. So I think you want to escape labeling yourself, especially you might hear that from others, but if you're the one labeling yourself, that becomes your story. So I always share with my clients, right? When you say, I am blank, whatever follows that follows you. So for instance, I am clumsy. That clumsy, that word follows you. So you want to slowly change that. So even simple things like creating a ritual, a journal prompt, creating I am blank, siguro tatlo. Or you can say, I used to be blank. Now I am. So it's just a quick tip that whatever follows I am follows you.
That's very strong. No, I think using your own words to describe you is very powerful. To add to that, journal prompts. When is the best time to write such a journal prompt? Should we do it in the beginning of the day before we sleep? Is there like a right time to do such thing? Or I know, yeah, exactly. That's my question. That's a weird question, I guess.
The right time is the right time for you.
The right time for you.
Mm.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I think there's also another question. This one kind of goes more deep into mental health problems. Neil Cortez wants to know, how do we fight anxiety and depression in our daily lives, po? And he also adds, because we teenagers, po, we overthink even in small things, po. So this was kind of loaded. No? Like, I guess, yeah. How do we fight anxiety? Anyone want to go first?
I think we start by maybe they'll hear this often in this conversation, by validating your feelings. That really, the title is "It's okay not to be okay." When you start fighting, actually, even using that word, and of course that's okay, but you want to change that as you're not fighting. It's not like it's something to be fought. It's just an
Mm,
emotion. So sometimes natututo rin yan sa atin, sometimes we're conditioned that emotions are either good or bad. They're not either good or bad, they're just is. So
mhm,
maybe we can start there. So when you're feeling, when you say anxious, ay nababalisa ako, hindi ako mapakali, for instance, you can start by really just validating that, ay nababalisa ako, and really feeling, maybe stopping what you're doing rather than you just keep going, and then sense that, and allow it to just flow. Para siyang ano, no, parang if you imagine a hose, pag
mhm.
barado siya, hindi yung sumisirit yung ano, yung tubig sa side, ano.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when you allow it to just flow, it flows very fluidly.
Mm.
So emotions are in that way. So just to start, I know the question is loaded, but to just start is to learn to validate, you know, to even just label it, your emotion. Ay, nababalisa ako. I'm anxious right now. Is
Mm,
one start, yeah.
I see. So parang to validate your own, you really have to say it out loud, no? To really put a word to it, to put it into existence. Is that what you mean by that? To
That's one way, but sometimes
Okay.
we don't have the language for it, and that's
Mm,
okay. You can use drawing, whatever, to express it. So
mhm.
language is verbal or non-verbal. So
Right.
mhm.
Right. And that makes sense. I think Dr. Chris also talked about drawing, no, as a form of expression. I guess I want to ask Dr. Chris: is there other different offline activities we can do to express ourselves? No, not only just playing games, but also like anything else that's offline that can help these students.
Yeah. Before that, I naisip ko lang dun sa tanong kasi there's, yung nga, the word, the fighting also struck me,
Mhm.
just like kay Miss Roanne. No? Um, uh, dahil sa fight, naisip ko na analogy, parang martial arts. How they teach you na if someone is attacking you, instead of like fighting it uh, head to head or hand to hand, whatever, you use the energy that's being thrown at you for something more effective. So
Mm,
yun. So instead of struggling with it, you accept it and then use it. So pwede siyang analogy rin for feelings in general, di ba? Instead of struggling with it, kasi the more you struggle with it, the more that you feel like you shouldn't be feeling that way, nakakadagdag pa yun ng pressure sa isip mo eh. Extra yan eh. Mayroon ka nang naramdaman, tapos dadagdagan mo pa ng hindi dapat yata. So, ang bigat na nun eh. So, it's good to be aware of that when that happens in our thinking. And to connect that to what your next question was, no? So, I guess using the energy, how do you channel that energy to other things? So many things that you might be already inclined to, interested in, art, dancing, music. I think ang importanteng alalahanin lang sa mga activities na to, number one, try not to criticize yourself too much. It's not about how good you are at it. So, marami tayo sigurong experience na, let's say, piano teacher, pinagalitan tayo, mali yan. Yan. It makes us it's so common to hear, hindi ako magaling kumanta, hindi ako magaling. Palaging ganun, pagdating sa arts yung tanong, di ba? Palaging number one na comment dyan, ay hindi ako magaling sa ganun. And what's liberating about it is that pagdating sa arts and healing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your skill doesn't really matter. What matters is the process of channeling that feeling and expressing it outwardly. So
Mhm.
if you can find an activity that helps do that for you, then I suggest you continue doing that. And also to explore as many activities
Mhm.
that help you with that.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Well, I'm learning a lot of things today, even though, what we've talked before, no? Pero these questions are very good. I think the students have really good questions.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next question by Edward Elizares. We kind of covered it naman, pero I think mas different yung ano, may extrang dagdag sa question niya. So he's talking about how he feels alone, and because of this pandemic, I have no one to approach to express my feelings. How can I help myself to stop thinking that I am always alone?
Mahirap na tanong yan ah.
Yeah, I know, right? It's similar to the parang I don't want to dagdag to or be a burden to people. But this one is more on focusing parang him himself, like how can I help myself to stop thinking that I'm alone,
Yeah. May I connect that to what Ms. Roanne said in her presentation? First of all, if you do feel alone, yung suggestion na to be able to converse with yourself in a compassionate and kind way, I think that matters. I mean, if you're really alone, okay, that can help. Even journaling and other expressive arts can help. Um, but it would really be good to find, even one, it matters, even if it's just one person
Mm-hmm.
na you feel like you can be yourself with, you can trust that person. Um, so, and the thinking of I am alone nga can really stop you from trying. Just just saying that you are alone, period, and that's the end, can stop you from even trying to reach out to anyone who actually might be able to be there to listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of allowing yourself to try it. And then just to add to that, siguro, for some people, it's also in their faith, spirituality. Sometimes when you feel alone, it can help connect you also to the spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Ate Ran, do you have something to add naman po about feeling alone?
I think very similar. So, try to reach out. But I know pag minsan, pag medyo we're feeling down and depressed, parang that's a very difficult step to take. But then it becomes a cycle, no? Na-depress ka, ayaw mong makipag-reach out because it feels very hard to do that. Lalo ka nadi-depress. So, it becomes like a cycle. So,
Mm-hmm.
to break really that cycle, it really takes a bit of action. And then otherwise kasi paikot-ikot siya. So I really like the recommendation of trying really to reach out and maybe thinking of other ways when you were not alone. Were there times na exceptions basically of mga panahon na hindi ka alone, and when was that? Kasi ngayong time na to we're all nasa bahay, no? And I think a lot of people do feel alone. But creating visions and even um, how would maybe in 3 months, right? After this pandemic, creating a vision, para ka nanonood ng TV, na-excite ka. Because it might not be always this way. So it gives you hope.
Mm-hmm.
So you create a story, a vision. You look forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so either that or you reach out, you take action now. So you break the cycle. Yeah.
Yes, that's good. I agree, naman. I can't wait for this pandemic to be over now, so we can finally go out and not feel so lonely. Also, but is there something wrong with feeling alone? Like Janella is asking, naman, is it okay to be alone if it gives you a peace of mind? Is there anything wrong with the word alone? No, and like you were talking about how words are strong, how you label things. In this case, she's asking, is it okay to be that way?
Yeah, mukhang you have peace of mind, Janela. So is that okay with you is my question.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think I agree naman. If it's okay, if it's like I said, it's okay to not be okay, but it's also okay to be okay, right? So if
Right.
you're okay with being alone, then that's perfect. No, thank you, Janella, for your.
Actually,
Thank you.
being comfortable being alone can be a sign of emotional maturity also. You know,
Mm,
you're okay with the quiet, and I think we need that once in a while, just to
mhm.
allow ourselves to be quiet, not be bombarded with what's on the internet or on TV.
Right. Right. I understand. Yeah, I'm typically extroverted. No, I love talking to people. I love being out. Pero I do notice that from time to time, especially during this pandemic, being by myself is actually really peaceful. You know, you get to
Mhm.
take a break from everybody, and it's not like everybody is, it draining you. It's more of like parang you get to be with yourself. And being yourself, if you are friends with yourself naman, it helps a lot, especially during this time. Great. So let's do one more question from the students. Sorry, I'm gonna pick a random one. Ang dami pa kasi. Okay, let's see. Brian asks, is overthinking a bad habit? Because I tend to overthink things and sometimes it messes up with my mood and my motivation to do things. It's a good question, I think, Brian. Thank you for asking that. Overthinking. Is it a bad habit?
Yeah, interesting question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Si Brian ba yan, Brian?
Yes, Brian.
Thank you, Brian, sa katanungan mo. Um, I think if it affects your mood to the point na it affects your functioning, like it affects your sa eskwela, kung nagtatrabaho ka, it impacts your self-confidence, are you overthinking things bago ka humakbang, kahakbang ka lang na isa, parang 10 beses ka mag-iisip. So in a way, you're in your own way, so you can reach your optimal health. Um, now I don't have enough information to say that that's
Mhm.
something of a mental health issue. It could just be, you know, brought about by stress or other variables. So I don't have enough information, but other than to say, kung nakakaapekto siya sa functioning mo, you might want to be curious about that, and maybe as a grown-up na pinagkakatiwalaan mo, guro, counselor. So I don't know if Dr. Chris can add anything.
Mhm.
I think I agree.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, that's a very tough question. Okay, I think those are the questions from the students naman. There was another question similar then. He's also overthinking. So I think you kind of mentioned naman to talk to someone if that's the case, and because most of the time, it's very hard to understand yourself. So it's good to voice it out. I guess now for my last question, I wanted to save this for last. It's like a more fun question, no? Um, so I was thinking maybe you can both visualize going back into time, and you see your past self, and you get to ask yourself, or you get to tell yourself some advice without any repercussions from the time space continuum. Walang ano, like parang bet the NBA, like make some money. Walang ganun na naman. Pero I guess like advice on more on how to get through life as a teenager in high school and so on. What would you say to your younger self at the Rowan?
So I'll use myself more, we call it gestalt, talking about myself,
Mhm.
the use of self. So siguro ang advice ko sa sarili ko, yung younger years, wag masyadong self-conscious, hindi ba? Karaniwan to sa teenager, and there is science around the brain kasi maraming mga pagbabago. But sometimes you feel that everybody's watching you. Bawat hakbang mo, somebody's looking at you. Masyado kang self-conscious. So, gusto kong sabihin sa sarili ko na actually, kung tingin ko, 10 nakatingin, baka isa lang. But, kumbaga, I could have done a lot more. worked on myself. If I weren't so self-conscious, I know that comes with developmental phase. But looking back, I know that's more of an illusion rather than a reality. So for our teenagers, sometimes our brain might think that way, but certain things are not. So I'm a hypnotherapist, so you can research that. So certain things are illusions. We believe that it's real, but they might not be real. So it's good to also ask questions. Totoo ba yun? Talaga bang bawat hakbang ko may tumitingin sa akin. So sa akin lang, yeah, the lesson of being less self-conscious.
Nice, nice. That's good advice naman, no? Dr. Chris, ikaw naman, what would you say to your younger self?
Actually, nakarelate ako sa sinabi ni Miss Roanne.
Yeah, it's those are good advice, di ba?
Yeah, feeling ko if I was not as self-conscious, or if I just tried out, well, I would have tried out more things. Whether I felt like it was accepted or not, or cool or not with the people around me. And so parang following your own path in a way is something related to that, I guess.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that's a good advice as well. So thank you. I think that will be the end of our interview. No, I think the students have learned a lot naman. Mukha na wala na bang questions? Any last questions? 1, 2, 3. Okay, wala na yata. All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Chris. Thank you, Roanne, for coming today. We appreciate your expertise. This is very helpful. I learned a lot personally. Taking care of mental health, I didn't realize how important it is. I work out, pero I don't know how to work out my brain, pero now I have a better understanding naman. So thank you, and hopefully the kids in Buting High School, Cavite National High, and also our ICT Liloan National High School students have learned something today. Thank you so much. Also, thank you for all the teachers. Thank you for people. And also just thank you for anyone else watching today. Hope you learned something as well. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign out. This is the end of our People Talks, People Speaker series. So hopefully we can. Let's try to say it's okay to not be okay on at the same time. Try natin. So thank you so much, everybody, and remember, it's
It's
so
It's so
okay to
okay
not
to
not
not
be
to be
be
okay.
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 Nice.
Pwede
Thank you.
na, pwede
And
na.
if that was okay,
Thank
that's
you.
okay.
Thank you also. Thank you.
Salamat.
Everyone,
Maraming
bye.
salamat.
Thank you so much.